Welcome to the Parable of the Vineyard Torah portion live study. My name is Adam, your host. We know that the Most High has called a people out of slumber into belief in his Son, Messiah YHWH, and to walk as he walked, obedient to the commandments. Join us as we study the Torah line by line so that we may fellowship together, grow, edify, train, and prepare the body of Messiah, the children of Israel, for the return of Messiah YHWH to be with him forevermore. O Yahuwah, open thou mine eyes, that I may behold wondrous things out of thy Torah. And welcome, brothers and sisters. Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to the Parable of the Vineyard Torah portion, week 7, Vayetze. And he left. We're going to be reading Genesis chapter 28, verse 10 through 32, verse 3. And for those of you that have been here before, you kind of know the deal. For those of you that may be new, I'll give you a quick breakdown. My name is Adam, and I have been called to study the Torah. While I studied it at a young age, because I grew up in Judaism, I forgot most of it. So I'm relearning the Torah. And it's a good thing, because Jewish traditions are just as bad, if not worse, than a lot of man-made Christian traditions that we see in the church these days. So anyways, I'm new to Torah, just like you, and I've been called to study it. And I invite you to study along with me. And what we do on this, we read through the scriptures. We read through Genesis, stop and talk as we felt led. And we also, to get the full understanding of what's really going on, we read parallel scriptures through the book of Jasher and the book of Jubilees to get a full understanding of everything that's happening. Because like for example, last week when we read through, we saw where Esau sold his birthright to Jacob, and it just doesn't make sense. When you just read the through the canon, you're like, why did he sell his birthright? I mean, was he that hungry? I mean, could he have been that dumb? You know, but then we learn it's because he was fleeing for his life because he had just killed Nimrod and some of his bodyguards, and he felt like he was going to die because he felt like he had been caught and the whole army was after him. But anyways, so when you read stuff like that, you're like, oh, okay, that makes a little more sense because he literally thought he was going to die. Anyways, so that being said, if those books offend you, this Torah portion may not be for you. I have many studies through the channel. They go over the authenticity of these books. For Jasher specifically, if you're curious about this book, it's something that I've read through several times. There's a lot of fascinating stuff in here. I mean, that book is more adventurous than like Lord of the Rings and whatnot. I mean, it's just some awesome stuff. Look at the work of Dr. Ken Johnson if you have questions about that book. And we have a series on Jubilees where we go line by line. We actually stopped kind of halfway through, but the thing about Jubilees is it was 15 full intact copies in Hebrew were found in the Dead Sea Scroll findings. So pretty safe scriptures in my opinion. So anyways, so again, we're going to be reading through Genesis 28:10 through 32:3, and we're going to start off right with a bang with Yaakov, aka Jacob, and let me do a screen share and we will get started. All right. So Genesis 28:10, and Yaakov, Jacob, went out from Beersheba and went towards Haran. And he lighted upon a certain place and tarried there all night because the sun was set, and he took of the stones of that place and put them for his pillows and lay down in that place to sleep. Makes us feel really I mean, some of us got some really, really soft pillows at home, don't we? And he's using the stones here. Anyways, verse 12, and he dreamt, and behold, a ladder set up on the earth, and the top of it reached to heaven, and behold, the angels of Elohim ascending and descending on it. And behold, Yahuwah stood above it, and said, I am Yahuwah Elohai of Avraham, your father, and the Elohai of Yitzchak, this is Isaac, the land whereon you lie. To you will I give it, and to your seed. So he's like reaffirming the covenant that he made with Abraham and Jacob. And your seed shall be as the dust of the earth, and you shall spread abroad to the west, and to the east, and to the north, and to the south. And in you and in your seed shall all the families of the earth be blessed. And what's interesting in this passage, it's kind of already foreshadowing the dispersion, because he knew, of course, the Most High knew the end from the beginning. He knew that Israel would transgress, and he knew the northern kingdom would be spread across the entire earth. And here we are, still here in dispersion, waiting for him to gather us back. And behold, I am with you, and will guard you in all places whither you go, and will bring you again into this land, for I will not leave you until I have done that which I have spoken of you. And Yaakov awoke out of his sleep, and he said, surely Yahuwah is in this place, and I knew it not. And he was afraid, and said, how dreadful is this place! This is none other than the house of Elohim, and this is the gate of heaven. So Jacob was like, whoa. He was like mind blown. So let's talk about the gate of heaven. We'll get confirm that here in Enoch chapter 9. Just read the first 2 verses. And then Michael and Uriel and Raphael and Gabriel looked down from heaven and saw much bloodshed being shed upon the earth, and all lawlessness being wrought upon the earth. And they said one to another, the earth, made without inhabitant, cries to the voice of their crying up to the gates of heaven. We're also going to take a look at what's really interesting here. And this is a passage in John chapter 1, and right at the end of it, verse 51, this is where Messiah says, and he said to him, truly, truly, I say to you, from now on you shall see heaven open, and the messengers of Elohim, the angels, ascending and descending upon the son of Adam. In another text it says hereafter, not from now on. It says hereafter you shall see heaven open, and the messengers of Elohim ascending and descending upon the son of Adam. Right, so that's kind of what we saw here. Or where is it? Yeah, right here. Yeah, on the ladder, he said he dreamed, and behold, a ladder set up on the earth, and the top of it reached to heaven, and behold, the angels of Elohim ascending and descending on it. Right, even we remember when Satan was speaking with the Most High about Job. Remember, the Most High asks, from where have you come? And Satan responded, saying, from going to and fro and up and down in the earth, or from going up and down and to and fro in the earth. Was that up and down? Maybe that ladder, or going up and down from the gate of heaven? Maybe, I don't know. Maybe he was going up and down in the earth. Who knows? Interesting either way. But to think about that, in that passage here where it says, you shall see the messengers of Elohim ascending and descending upon the son of Adam. And kind of just, brainstorming or just thinking about it, is Messiah that ladder? Is he the way to the kingdom? Yeah, he is. So maybe this is kind of a foreshadow of him, being the way, being the he's the door, right? But we also know that through John 14:6 that he's the way, the truth, and the life. No one goes to the Father but through him. So, something to think about. I thought it was pretty interesting. Okay, verse 28:18. And Yaakov rose up early in the morning and took the stone that had put for his pillows and set it up for a pillar and poured oil on the top of it. And he called the name of that place Beit El. Bait, this is house. The letter B. Beit means house. Beit El, house of God, house of Elohim. But the name of that city was called Luz at the first. And Yaakov vowed a vow, saying, if Elohim will be with me and will guard me in this way that I go, and will give me bread to eat and raiment to put on, so that I come again into my father's house in peace, then shall Yahuwah be my Elohim. So, it's kind of an interesting statement. We know that Yaakov is a righteous man, fully righteous. And but you kind of see here maybe his faith wasn't fully formed yet, because he's kind of making a deal. He's like, he'll be my Elohim if... which I'm nobody to question Yaakov, but I'm just saying that we see here that maybe in this sense, maybe Yaakov was not perfect yet. Maybe he was still a little yet to be made perfect. And so he basically is saying, if I'm fed and I'm clothed, and I come back to my father's house in peace, then shall Yahuwah be my Elohim. But and speaking of that, Messiah cleared some things up for us when it comes to food and clothing and shelter, whatever it may be. Let's look at Matthew 6. We're looking at 25 through 34. Because of this, I say to you, do not worry about your life, what you shall eat or drink, or about your body, what you shall put on. Is not life more than the food, and the body more than the clothing? So this is what Jacob was talking about, Yaakov was talking about. Look at the birds of heaven, for they neither sow nor reap nor gather into storehouses, yet your heavenly Father does feed them. Are you not worth more than they? And which of you, worrying, is able to add 1 cubit to his lifespan? So why do you worry about clothing? Note well the lilies of the field, how they grow. They neither toil nor spin. And I say to you that even Solomon, in all his esteem, was not dressed like one of these. But if Elohim so clothes the grass of the field, which exists today and tomorrow is thrown into the furnace, how much more you, O you of little belief? Do not worry then, saying, what shall we eat, or what shall we drink, or what shall we wear? For all these the nations seek, and your heavenly Father knows that you need all these. But seek first the reign, the kingdom of Elohim, and his righteousness, and all these shall be added to you. Do not then worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow shall have its own worries. Each day has enough evil of itself. So, that's a better perspective of looking to the Most High for our food and our raiment and other needs. And this stone which I have set for a pillar shall be Elohim's house, and all that you shall give me, I will surely give 1/10 to you. Bethel is roughly 10 miles away from Jerusalem, so pretty close to where that house was actually built. The temple I'm speaking of course. All right, chapter 29. Then Yaakov went on his journey and came into the land of the people of the east. And he looked, and behold, a well in the field, and lo, there were 3 flocks of sheep lying by it. For out of that well they watered the flocks, and a great stone was upon the well's mouth. And thither were all the flocks gathered, and they rolled the stone from the well's mouth, and watered the sheep, and put the stone again upon the well's mouth in his place. And Yaakov said unto them, my brethren, whence be ye? And they said, of Haran are we. And I just realized we did not start with prayer. Heavenly Father, Yahuwah Most High, we just come before you, and we just bless you and thank you for this gathering. And we just pray that you just continue to open our eyes and ears to your scriptures so that we may grow thereby into not only be hearers of the word, but be doers of the word. And we bless you and thank you for Messiah Yahusha, for salvation, your word. Amen. Amen. Genesis 29:5. And he said unto them, did I pray at the beginning? Maybe I did, and maybe I forgot. And he said unto them, know ye Laban, the son of Nahor? And they said unto him, we know him. So he's traveling to the east. He was commanded by his father. This is last week. He was commanded by his father and mother to go to Laban. This is where Abraham's family was and lived. The sons of Nahor, and so he gets to this well and he's asking, do you know Laban? And they're like, yes, we know him. And he said unto them, is he well? And they said, he is well. And behold, Rachel his daughter comes with the sheep. And he said, lo, it is yet high day, neither is it time that the cattle should be gathered together. Water ye the sheep, and go and feed them. And they said, we know that Jacob knew how to, shepherd. So he's kind of giving them, telling them what to do. And they said, we cannot until all the flocks be gathered together, until they roll the stone from the well's mouth, and then we water the sheep. And while he yet spoke with them, Rachel came with her father's sheep, for she kept them. And it came to pass, when Yaakov saw Rachel, the daughter of Laban, his mother's brother, and the sheep of Laban, his mother's brother, that Yaakov went near and rolled the stone from the well's mouth and watered the flock of Laban, his mother's brother. And Yaakov kissed Rachel and lifted up his voice and wept. And Yaakov told Rachel that he was her father's brother and that he was Rivka's son. And she ran and told her father. And it came to pass when Laban heard the tidings of Yaakov, his sister's son, that he ran to meet him and embraced him and kissed him. And he brought him to his house. And he told Laban all these things. And we're going to see exactly what he told Laban. We're going to go to Jasher 30, verse 9 through 11. Oops, 9 through 11. Where am I going? And Jacob told Rachel that he was the son of Rebekah, her father's sister, and Rachel ran and told her father. And Jacob continued to cry because he had nothing with him to bring to the house of Laban. And when Laban heard that his sister's son Jacob had come, he ran and kissed him and embraced him and brought him into the house and gave him bread, and he ate. And Yaakov related to Laban what his brother Esau had done to him and what his son Eliphaz had done to him in the road. Which, by the way, if you weren't with us last week, what Esau had done was he sent his son Eliphaz, and Eliphaz and his men were supposed to kill Jacob, and Yaakov kind of made a deal with him. He's like, "Here, just take all my stuff." Like if you remember, he was given gold and silver and treasures, more than likely as a wedding gift or as a like a wedding dowry, because they sent him there literally to go marry one of the daughters, and so Eliphaz and the men had taken all of his belongings, and so Jacob came there empty-handed. And you'll see that because of that is why he ends up working for Laban, because he has no dowry, he has nothing to give him for his daughter. And Laban said to him, "Surely you are a bone of..." This is Genesis 29:14. "You are bone of my bone and flesh, and..." I'm sorry. "You are a bone of... Surely you are my bone and my flesh." And he abode with him the space of a month. And Laban said unto Yaakov, "Because you are my brother, should you therefore serve me for naught?" So he's like, "Should you serve me for nothing? Tell me, what shall your wages be?" So basically, Laban's saying, like, I want to pay you, right? And again, Jacob has to serve him because he has all of his treasures were stolen from Eliphaz. And Laban had two daughters. The name of the elder was Leah, and the name of the younger was Rachel. And Leah was tender-eyed, but Rachel was beautiful and well-favored. And remember, we learned last week that they were actually twins. And Yaakov loved Rachel and said, "I will serve you 7 years for Rachel, your younger daughter." And Laban said, "It is better that I give her to you than I should give her to another man. Abide with me." And Yaakov served 7 years for Rachel, and they seemed unto him but a few days for the love he had to her. And Yaakov said unto Laban, "Give me my woman, for my days are fulfilled, that I may go in unto her." That's pretty blunt. I wonder if this is actually what he said to him. I mean, think about it. This is what he said, right? So my 7 years. Yaakov said to Laban, "Give me my woman, for my days are fulfilled, that I may go in unto her." Can you imagine? Oh, man. I guess maybe that's just how they spoke back then, you know? He's like, "Give her to me so I can make love to her, you know? Going in unto her." It's pretty blunt. And Laban gathered together all the men of the place and made a feast. And it came to pass in the evening that he took Leah his daughter and brought her unto him, and he went unto her. And Laban gave unto his daughter Leah Zilpah, his maid, for a handmaid. So there's a little bit more here. It's a little interesting. We're going to read Jasher 31, 1 through 10 about the old switcheroo here. "And in the 7th year, Jacob's service which he had served Laban was completed. And Yaakov said unto Laban, Give me my wife, for the days of my service are fulfilled. And Laban did so. And Laban and Yaakov assembled all the people of that place, and they made a feast. And in the evening Laban came to the house, and afterward Yaakov came there with the people of the feast, and Laban extinguished all the lights that were in the house." Right? So all like the candles and everything was just was doused. And Yaakov said unto Laban, "Wherefore dost thou do this thing unto us?" He's like, "Why do you turn off all the lights?" And Laban answered, "Such is our custom to act in this land." And afterward Laban took his daughter Leah, and he brought her to Yaakov, and he came to her, and Yaakov did not know that she was Leah, because all the lights were out, right? He couldn't see a thing. because we didn't have an explanation in the canon, I was like, well, maybe Jacob was really drunk or something. But no, it's because literally he couldn't see anything. And afterward, Laban took his daughter Leah and brought her to Yaakov, and he came to her, and Yaakov did not know that she was Leah. And Laban gave his daughter Leah, his maid Zilpah, for a handmaid. And all the people at the feast knew what Laban had done to Yaakov, but they did not tell a thing to Yaakov. And all the neighbors came that night to Yaakov's house, and they ate and drank and rejoiced, and they played before Leah upon her timbrels and with dances, and they responded before Yaakov, He Leah, He Leah. And Yaakov heard their words, but did not understand their meaning, but he thought such might be their custom in this land. And the neighbors spoke these words before Yaakov during the night, and all the lights that were in the house Laban had that night extinguished. And in the morning, when daylight appeared, Yaakov turned to his wife, and he said, and behold, it was Leah that had been lying in his bosom. And Yaakov said, behold now, I know what the neighbors said last night. He Leah, they said, and I knew it not. So we get a little more context there. And in Genesis 29:25, and it came to pass that in the morning, behold, it was Leah. And he said to Laban, what is this that you have done unto me? Did not I serve with you for Rachel? Wherefore then have you beguiled me? The deceiver was deceived, right? And I say that because, he deceived his father, and we read about that last week. Recompense, perhaps, I don't know. And Laban said, it must not be so done in our country to give the younger before the firstborn. And we're going to read just 2 verses in Jubilees 28 about this. 6 through 7. And Laban said to Yaakov, it is not so done in our country to give the younger before the elder, and it is not right to do this, for thus it is ordained and written in the heavenly tablets, that no one should give his younger daughter before the elder, but the elder one gives first, and after her the younger, and the man who does so, they set down guilt against him in heaven, and none is righteous that does this thing, for this deed is evil before YHWH. And commanded thou the children of Israel that they should not do this thing, let them neither take nor give the younger before they had given the elder, for it is very wicked. So, just a little extra insight there. Verse 29, Genesis 29, verse 27, fulfill her week, and we will give you this also for the service which you shall serve me yet 7 other years. And Yaakov did so, and fulfilled her week, and he gave him Rachel his daughter to be his woman also. And Laban gave to Rachel his daughter Bilhah, his handmaid to be her maid. And he went in also unto Rachel, and loved also Rachel, and he loved also Rachel more than Leah, and served with him yet 7 other years. That 7 years is the 7 years for Rachel. It's not 21 years. It's 14 years so far. All right. So, yeah, okay. So we keep going here. Take a quick sip. All right, Genesis 29:31. And when YHWH saw that Leah was hated, he opened her womb, but Rachel was barren. And Leah conceived and bore a son, and she called his name Reuben. For she said, surely YHWH has looked upon my affliction. Now therefore my man will love me. And she conceived again, and bore a son, and said, because YHWH has heard that I was hated, he has therefore given me this son also. And she called his name Shimon. And she conceived again, and bore a son, and said, now this time will my man be joined unto me, because I have borne him 3 sons. Therefore it was his name called Levi. And she conceived again, and bore a son, and she said, now will I praise YHWH. Therefore she called his name Yehudah, that's Judah, and left bearing. And when Rachel saw that she bore Yaakov no children, Rachel envied her sister. And she said unto Yaakov, give me children, or else I die. And Yaakov's anger was kindled against Rachel, and he said, am I in Elohim's stead, who has withheld you from the fruit of the womb? And she said, behold, my maid Bilhah, go unto her, and she shall bear upon my knees, that I may also have children by her. Right? This is familiar territory. We saw this with Abraham and Sarah, because they were still barren, and they're like, well, maybe we got to take it into our own hands. Genesis 30, verse 4. And she gave him Bilhah, her handmaid, to be his woman, and Yaakov went in unto her. And Bilhah conceived and bore Yaakov a son. And Rachel said, Elohim has judged me, and has also heard my voice, and has given me a son. Therefore called she his name Dan. And Bilhah, Rachel's maid, conceived again, and bore Yaakov a second son. And Rachel said, With great wrestlings have I wrestled with my sister, and I have prevailed. And she called his name Naphtali. When Leah saw that she had left bearing, she took Zilpah her maid, and gave her Yaakov to be his woman. And Zilpah, Leah's maid, bore Yaakov a son. And Leah said, A troop comes, and she called his name Gad. And Zilpah, Leah's maid, bore Yaakov a second son. And Leah said, Happy am I, for the daughters will call me blessed. And she called his name Asher. And Reuben went in the days of the wheat harvest, and found mandrakes in the field, and brought them unto his mother Leah. Then Rachel said unto Leah, Give me, I pray you, of your son's mandrakes. I guess this has some sort of fertility benefit or something. I don't know. And she said unto her, Is it a small matter that you have taken my man? And would you take away my son's mandrakes also? And Rachel said, Therefore he shall lie with you tonight for your son's mandrakes. So Rachel made a deal with her. I guess I don't know how this worked. I mean, my goodness. Marriage is well, I could say it's tough, but it's a struggle, I mean, even just with one wife. I can only imagine with technically it's two wives, but technically it's four, right? But it looks like maybe he took turns between Rachel and Leah. I don't know. So maybe it was Rachel's turn, and so she sold her turn for those mandrakes because she's like, this will take away my barrenness. I don't know. And Yaakov came out of the field in the evening, and Leah went out to meet him and said, You must come in unto me, for surely I have hired you with my son's mandrakes. And he lay with her that night. And Elohim hearkened unto Leah, and she conceived and bore Yaakov a fifth son. And Leah said, Elohim has given me my hire, because I have given my maiden to my man. And she called his name Yissachar. And Leah conceived again and bore Yaakov the sixth son. And Leah said, Elohim has endued me with a good dowry. Now will my man dwell with me, because I have borne him six sons. And she called his name Zebulun. And afterwards she bore a daughter, and called her name Dinah. And Elohim remembered Rachel, and Elohim hearkened to her and opened her womb. We'll read a little bit about this in just 4 verses in Jasher 31, 40 through 44. And Rachel stole her... Wrong one. Sorry, Jasher 19 through 21. And Rachel was still barren in those days, and Rachel prayed unto Yahuwah at that time. And she said, O Yahuwah Elohim, remember me and visit me, I beseech thee, for now my husband will cast me off, for I have borne him no children. Now, O Yahuwah Eloheinu, hear my supplication before thee, and see my affliction, and give me children like one of the handmaids, that I may no more bear my reproach. And Elohim heard her, and opened her womb, and Rachel conceived and bare a son. And she said, Yahuwah has taken away my reproach. And she called his name Yosef. May Yahuwah add to me another son. And Yaakov was 91 years old when she bare him. So we'll go back here now. Yeah, Genesis 30, verse 23. And she conceived and bore a son, and she said, Elohim has taken away my reproach. And she called his name Yosef, and said, Yahuwah shall add to me another son. And it came to pass, when Rachel had borne Yosef, that Yaakov said unto Laban, Send me away, that I may go unto my own place, into my country. I won't read this, but in Jasher it says that finally Rivka had sent one of her handmaidens, Deborah, and some servants over to Laban's house to tell Jacob, come on home. And so that's when he was like, okay, I'm ready to go home, right? Excuse me, sorry. And he said, Genesis 30, verse 26, Give me my woman and my children, for whom I have served you, and let me go, for you know my service which I have done to you. And Laban said unto him, I pray you, if I have found favor in your eyes, tarry, for I have learned by experience that Yahuwah has blessed me for your sake. And he said, Appoint me your wages, and I will give it. And he said unto him, You know how I have served you, and how your cattle was with me. For it was little which you had before I came, and it has now increased unto a multitude. And Yahuwah has blessed you since my coming. And now, when shall I provide for my own house also? So, Yaakov is like, hey, I've tended these flocks, and the flocks have just burst out into, multitudes. I want to feed for my house too, right? Provide for my house. And he said, what shall I give you? So this is, Laban saying, what shall I give you? And Yaakov said, you shall not give me anything. If you will do this thing for me, I will again feed and guard your flock. I will pass through all your flock today, removing from thence all the speckled and spotted cattle, and all the brown cattle among the sheep, and the spotted and speckled among the goats. Of such shall be my hire. So shall my righteousness answer for me in the time to come, when it shall come for me for my hire before your face, every one that is not speckled and spotted among the goats and brown among the sheep, that shall be counted stolen with me. So, Yaakov is basically saying, I'm going to take all the spotted and the speckled and the brown, I guess the more undesirable, and just separated them and said, all those will be mine and all the other ones will be yours. And Laban said, behold, I would it might be according to your word. So he's like, done, deal, let's do this. And he removed that day the goats that were ring-straked, it's another word for like spotted, and all the she-goats that were speckled and spotted, and every one that had some white in it, and all the brown among the sheep, and gave them into the hands of his sons. And he set 3 days' journey betwixt himself and Yaakov fed the rest of Laban's flocks. And Yaakov took him rods of a green poplar, and of the hazel and chestnut tree, and piled white strakes in them, and made the white appear which was in the rods. And he set the rods which he had piled before the flocks in the gutters in the watering troughs, when the flocks came to drink, that they should conceive when they came to drink. So, I don't have much revelation on this, and I probably should have looked at maybe a commentary, but maybe this is another thing like the mandrakes. Maybe this is he's like taking parts of a tree, right? And he's like shutting off the bark and letting the white show. So maybe a combination of poplar, hazel, chestnut increases fertility in animals. I don't know. If I'm missing something here, great opportunity to put it in the comments when this video is uploaded, and I'd love to grow and see what I'm missing there. So hang on. Yeah, so we basically put all those rods, the branches, the tree trunks or branches that were stripped of the bark, and put them in the water where they came to drink. So maybe it got into the water, and I don't know. Something to think about. Genesis 30, verse 39, and the flocks conceived before the rods, and brought forth cattle, ring-straked, speckled, and spotted. And Yaakov did separate the lambs, and set the faces of the flocks toward the ring-straked, and all the brown in the flock of Laban. And he put his own flock by themselves, and put them not into Laban's cattle. And it came to pass, whensoever the stronger cattle did conceive, that Yaakov laid the rods before the eyes of the cattle in the gutters, that they might conceive among the rods. But when the cattle were feeble, he put them not in, so the feebler were Laban's, and the stronger Yaakov's. And the man increased exceedingly, and had much cattle, and maidservants, and menservants, and camels, and asses. Okay. All right, so now we're going to see Yaakov fleeing from Laban. And I'm going to read all the way up until verse 35, and then we're going to get an explanation of why Rachel did what she did. Genesis 31:1, and he heard the words of Laban's sons, saying, Yaakov has taken away all that was our father's, and that of which our fathers has he gotten all this glory. And Yaakov beheld the countenance of Laban, and behold, it was not towards him as it was before. So he's basically saying that, Laban was nice and courteous to him, and now it's like not. And Yahuwah said unto Yaakov, return unto the land of your fathers and to your kindred, and I will be with you. And Yaakov sent and called Rachel and Leah to the field unto his flock, and said unto them, I see your father's countenance, that is not towards me as before, but Elohim of my father has been with me. And ye know that with all my power I have served your father. And your father has deceived me, and has changed my wages 10 times, but Elohim suffered him not to hurt me. Excuse me. If he said thus, the speckled shall be your wages, then all the cattle bore speckled. And if he said thus, the ring-straked shall be your hire, then bore all the cattle ring-straked. And Elohim has taken away the cattle of your father and given them to me. And it came to pass at the time that the cattle conceived, that I lifted up my eyes and saw in a dream, behold, the rams which leaped upon the cattle were ring-straked, speckled, and grizzled. And the angel of Elohim spoke unto me in a dream, saying, Yaakov. I said, Here am I. And he said, Lift up your eyes and see, all the rams which leap upon the cattle are ring-straked, speckled, and grizzled, for I have seen all that Laban does unto you. I am the Elohim of Bethel, where you anointed the pillar, and where you vowed a vow unto me. Now arise, get you out from this land, and return unto the land of your kindred. And Rachel and Leah answered and said to him, Is there yet any portion or inheritance for us in our father's house? Are we not counted of him as strangers? For he has sold us, and has quite devoured also our money. For all the riches which Elohim has taken from our father, that is ours, and our children's now then, whatsoever Elohim has said unto you, do. Then Yaakov rose up and set his sons and his woman upon camels, and carried away all his cattle and all his goods which he had gotten, the cattle of his getting which he had gotten in Padan Aram, for to go unto Yitzchak his father in the land of Canaan. And Laban went to shear his sheep, and Rachel had stolen the teraphim, the idols, the images, that were her father's. And Yaakov stole away unawares to Laban the Aramean, in that he told him not that he fled. So basically they beat feet. They're like, let's get out of here, without even telling him. So he fled with all that he had. He rose up and passed over the river and set his face towards the Mount Gilead. And it was told to Laban on the third day that Yaakov was fled. And he took his brethren with him and pursued him 7 days' journey, and they overtook him in the Mount Gilead. Is it Gilead? Gilead. It's just 31:23. Yeah, Gilead. Okay. Just want to make sure. And Elohim came to Laban the Aramean in a dream by night, and said unto him, Take heed that you speak not to Yaakov, either good or bad. Then Laban overtook Yaakov. Now Yaakov had pitched his tent in the mount, and Laban with his brethren pitched in the mount of Gilead. And Laban said unto Yaakov, What have you done, that you have stolen away unawares to me, and carried away my daughters as captives, taken with the sword? Wherefore did you flee away secretly, and steal from me, and did not tell me, that I might have sent you away with mirth, and with songs, and with tabret, and with harp? And have not suffered me to kiss my sons and my daughters? You have now done foolishly in doing so. It is in the power of my hand to do you hurt. But the Elohim of your father spoke to me yesternight, saying, Take heed that you speak not to Yaakov either good or bad. And now, though you would need to be gone, because you have sore longed after your father's house, yet wherefore have you stolen my Elohim? Right, his gods, his teraphim, his images. He's like, fine, you've gone, but why did you steal my Elohim? And Yaakov answered Laban, Because I was afraid. For I said, Perchance you would take by force your daughters from me. With whomsoever you find with your Elohim, let him not live. Right? So Yaakov's like, we didn't steal this. Whoever you find these with, let him not live. Let him die. Before our brethren discern what is yours with me, and take it to you. For Yaakov knew not that Rachel had stolen them. So he's like, Yaakov is like, he's confident. He's like, I didn't steal them. My wives are righteous. They didn't steal them. My little babies, my little sons, they didn't steal them. Genesis 31:33. And Laban went into Yaakov's tent, and into Leah's tent, and into the two maidservants' tent, but he found them not. Then he went out of Leah's tent and entered into Rachel's tent. Now Rachel had taken the teraphim, the gods, the lowercase gods, lowercase g gods, and put them in the camel's furniture and sat upon them. And Laban searched all the tent, but found them not. And she said to her father, Let it not displease my lord that I cannot rise up before you, for the custom of women is upon me. And he searched, but found not the teraphim. Right? So she's like, I have my period, so I can't stand up. And he's like, okay. So let's talk about the images. So we started to read it a second ago, Joshua 31, 40 through 44. So now you're going to know why she stole them. She had a reason. And Rachel, this is Joshua 31, 40 through 44. And Rachel stole her father's images, and she took them, and she concealed them upon the camel upon which she sat, and she went on. And this is the manner of the images: in taking a man who is the firstborn, and slaying him, and taking the hair off his head, and taking salt, and salting the head, and anointing it in oil. So, I mean, think about this. This is some disgusting stuff. So you have to take a firstborn, kill him, take the hair off his head, taking salt and salting the head and anointing it in oil, then taking a small tablet of copper or a tablet of gold and writing the name upon it, and placing the tablet under his tongue, and taking the head, which the tablet, under the tongue, and putting it in the house, and lighting up the lights before it, and bowing down to it. And at the time when they bow down to it, it speaketh to them in all matters that they ask of it, through the power of the name which is written in it. So this is some like wicked divination stuff. And we know this stuff is real, right? We know this kind of stuff happened. And some make them figures of men, of gold and silver, to go to them in times known to them, and the figures receive the influence of the stars, and tell them future things. And in this manner were the images which Rachel stole from her father. And Rachel stole these images which were her father's, in order that Laban might not know through them where Jacob had gone. So she knew that her father could do divination through these images, and she's like, to give us a fair shot, I'm going to steal these so he won't be able to make divination and to find out where we are. But he found out where they were anyways. Right? So doesn't that give you a little context? Isn't that good to know? Like, why would Rachel steal the gods? Because it doesn't tell us anything else in the canon. So I just thought it was interesting. I wanted to share that with you. All right, Genesis 31:36. And Yaakov was wroth and chode with Laban, and Yaakov answered and said to Laban, What is my transgression? What is my sin, that ye have so hotly pursued after me? Whereas you have searched all my stuff, what have you found of all your household stuff? Set it here before my brethren and your brethren, that they may judge betwixt us both. This 20 years have I been with you. Your ewes and your she-goats have not cast their young, and the rams of your flock have I not eaten. That which was torn of beasts I brought not unto you. I bore the loss of it. Of my hand did you require it, whether stolen by day or stolen by night. Thus I was. In the day the drought consumed me, and in the frost by night, and my sleep departed from my eyes. So he was an excellent shepherd, right? He was there day and night with them. Thus have I been 20 years in your house. I served you 14 years for your 2 daughters, and 6 years for your cattle, and you have changed my wages 10 times. Except the Elohai of my father, the Elohai of Avraham, and the fear of Yitzchak have been with me. Surely you have sent me away now empty. So Yaakov's like, if it wasn't for the Most High, you would have stripped me and wouldn't have given me anything. Elohim has seen my affliction and my labor of my hands, and rebuked you yesternight. And Laban answered and said unto Yaakov, These daughters are my daughters, and these children are my children, and these cattle are my cattle, and all that you see is mine. And what can I do this day unto these my daughters, or unto their children which they have borne? Now therefore come, let us cut a covenant, I and you, and let it be for a witness between me and you. And Yaakov took a stone and set it up for a pillar. And Yaakov said unto his brethren, Gather stones. And they took stones, and they made a heap, and they did eat thereupon the heap. And Laban called it Yagar Sahadutha, but Yaakov called it Gilead. And Laban said, This heap is a witness between me and you this day. Therefore was the name of it called Gilead. And Mitzpah, for he said, Yahuwah, watch between me and you when we are absent one from another. And if you shall afflict my daughters, or if you shall take another woman beside my daughters, no man is with us. See, Elohim is witness between me and you. And Laban said to Yaakov, Behold this heap, and behold this pillar, which I have cast between me and you. This heap be a witness, and this pillar be a witness, that I will not pass over this heap to you, and that you shall not pass over this heap and this pillar unto me for harm. Now, we can see that Laban's saying all these righteous words, but in the book of Jasher, we'll see that he's double-minded and double-tongued. Genesis 31:53. The Elohai of Avraham and the Elohai of Nahor, the Elohai of their father, judged betwixt us. And Yaakov swore by the fear of his father Yitzchak. Then Yaakov offered sacrifice upon the mount, and called his brethren to eat bread, and they did eat bread, and they tarried all night in the mount. And early in the morning Laban rose up, and kissed his sons and daughters, and blessed them, and Laban departed, and returned unto his place. So let's see what Laban was scheming here. So we're going to go back to Joshua 31. We're going to look at 53 through 64. So we just saw where it ended. And Laban and Jacob and Laban offered sacrifice upon the mount, and they ate there by the heap, and they tarried in the mount all night. And Laban rose up early in the morning, and he wept with his daughters, and he kissed them, and he returned unto his place. And he hastened and sent off his son Beor. I wonder if this is the same. This is the father of Balaam, because it's said many times in the scriptures that it's Balaam, son of Beor. Could be. And he hastened and sent off. So Beor is the son of Laban, and he hastened and sent off his son Beor, who was 17 years old. So he was young here. So it could work out. That could be the same Beor, the father of Balaam, with Abikorf, the son of Uz, the son of Nahor. With them were 10 men, and they hastened and passed on the road before Yaakov, and they came by another road to the land of Seir. So again, Laban sent his son and these men off to go where? You'll see. And they came unto Esau and said unto him, Thus saith thy brother and thy relative, thy mother's brother Laban, the son of Bethuel, saying, Hast thou heard what Jacob thy brother has done to me, who first came to me naked and bare, and I went to meet him, and they brought him to my house with honor, and I made him great, and I gave him my 2 daughters for wives, and also 2 my maids. And I remember, Jacob, told Laban what Esau had done unto him. So Laban knew that Esau was the enemy of Yaakov. And just like we see on today, to this very, very day, you'll see it. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. You'll see that. You'll see that with people that are your enemy, and another person that's your enemy, right? The enemy of my enemy is my friend. So that's what Laban is doing here. He's like, I know Esau is the enemy of Yaakov, and I'm the enemy of Yaakov. So let's be friends. And so hast thou heard what Yaakov thy brother has done unto me, who first came to me naked and bare, and I went to meet him, and brought him to my house with honor, and made him great, and I gave him my 2 daughters for wives, and as also 2 of my maids, and Elohim blessed him on my account. He's double-tongued, right? Because earlier he was like, I know that Elohim blessed Laban. This is Laban saying, I know that Elohim blessed me because of you, Jacob, right? But now he's saying that Elohim blessed Jacob on my account. So he's double-tongued. And he increased abundantly and had sons and daughters and maidservants. He has also an immense stock of flocks and herds and camels and asses, and also silver and gold in abundance. And when he saw that his wealth increased, he left me whilst I went to shear my sheep, and he rose up and fled in secrecy. And he lifted his wives and his children upon camels, and he led away all his cattle and property which he acquired in my land, and he lifted up his countenance to go to his father Isaac to the land of Canaan. And he did not suffer me to kiss my daughters and their children, and he led my daughters as captives taken by the sword. That's not true. See, it's a lie. And he also stole my gods, and he fled. And now I have left him in the mountain of the brook of Jabbok, him and all belonging to him. He lacketh nothing. If it be thy wish to go to him, go then, and there wilt thou find him, and thou canst do unto him as thy soul desireth. So Laban was like that's what makes sense about Balaam. I'll explain in just a second. So the Most High came to Laban in a dream saying, don't touch him. Don't touch Jacob, right? So Laban's like, okay, I can't touch him, but doesn't mean someone else can't, right? So he's like, I'm going to send for Esau. I'm going to let Esau do his will here. If you remember, if those of you that know the story of Balaam was to be made rich by the king. I forgot the king's name. Forgive me. But the king of Moab. Oh, man. It's going to bother me. Balak. Yeah, sorry, Balak. Okay. So when Balak in Moab saw all the children of Israel after they came out of Egypt, right, and just their huge masses and how they're just destroying everybody, he's like, I'm scared. So he sent for Balaam because he knew Balaam was a prophet of the Most High. So Balak was like, I'll make you rich, curse them, destroy my enemies. And so Balaam, he offered sacrifices. He prayed to the Most High. The Most High is like, don't touch them because they're blessed. And so Balaam's like, I can't touch them. Right? I can only do what the Most High says. So eventually, it just went back and forth a couple times. Eventually, Balaam figured out a plan to make the women of Moab a stumbling block for the children. So he's like, send out all these women to be a stumbling block and make them, be attractive in the eyes of the Israelites, and they'll have sex with them. And anyways, so Balaam, the son of Beor, the son of Laban, did the same thing his father did. Interesting, right? So, and Laban's messengers came and told Esau all these things. And Esau heard all the words of Laban's messengers, and his anger was greatly kindled against Jacob. And he remembered his hatred, and his anger was burned with him. So, that is leading up to some interesting stuff. So, we've got... actually, how many verses do we read here? We're going to read until 32:3. And Yaakov went on his way, and the angels of Elohim met him. And when Yaakov saw them, he said, "This is Elohim's host." And he called that place Machanaim. And Yaakov sent messengers before him to Esau, his brother, unto the land of Seir, the country of Edom. And that's where we stop. And I got to tell you, this is really leading up for an awesome, awesome video. I mentioned it last week. But if you haven't seen it yet, right here, Christian Truthers, the epic battle of Esau and Jacob. There is a lot here, and it's an amazing, amazing, amazing story that Justin puts excellent visuals behind. I really highly recommend it. And we're going to probably play a clip from it next week, because next week is when we'll be reading some of the stuff that's in this video. But anyways, really excited to bring that to you and talk about it next week. So that concludes our Torah portion, week 7, Vayetze, and he left, and I pray that it was a blessing to you. Hopefully you learned maybe something new, maybe not, but gonna hang out with the chat for just a few minutes, and we were gonna call it a night, and I'm gonna go to bed. So hang on. Okay. Martin Lecomte says, "Nice to know I'm not living on the East Coast, not alone living on the East Coast." Yeah, I hear you, man. It's late. It's 1 in the morning. You late nighter. Yeah. Carly's leaving. She says 1 a.m. here. I get it. We're finished up here. What's going on, Sister Heather? Good to see you. Good to see you. I'm really excited for you to see the round table gathering next week. Sister got a lot of research for you. A lot of it. And it's interesting. Dr. Pigeon, well, I won't spoil it, but Dr. Pigeon doesn't necessarily agree with the Greek and whatnot, but he agrees as in a whole in a different way. It's interesting. You'll have to, I think it was on Crossing Over. You guys have to see it for yourself. Interesting stuff. Yeah. Sister Camilla says, "We are noticing your shalom." Yes. A lot of peace, even in the midst of trials and, all kinds of nonsense going on out there. Who cares? Seriously. Who cares? Same for you. When you're speaking the truth and someone mocks you or speaks falsely against you, slanders you, rejoice, Rejoice, for real. Rejoice. Sister Heather, what did you think of that Crossing Over? Just curious. Sister Aaron James, good to see you. Tamara McKee, good to see you. Yeah, Brian, Leah and Rachel are twins. They were twins. Brother Frank is in Alaska. He says dark at 3 p.m., sunrise at 8:40. Crazy. Kathy Red. Yeah, 1 a.m. there too. Woof. One feather. I am yawning. Haha. Awesome. Yeah. Yeah, she said it was good. Okay, good deal. In any case, well, yeah, I hear you, Jeannie. Noel Brown, blessings to you as well. Yeah, there are two types of Greek classic and street. Well, I thought it was like ancient modern, but okay, maybe. Noel Brown, I am from Jamaica. Wow. We truly are everywhere. Hallelujah. All right, let's gather together in some prayer, and we'll finish this evening. Let's bow our hearts. Oh, Heavenly Father, Yahuwah Most High, in Yahusha's name we do come before you, your word, our King, our Messiah, in whom we believe in and trust. We thank you for Messiah, first and foremost, before anything. We thank you also for opening our eyes and ears and bringing us back to your covenant, bringing us back to your Torah. This is such an honor, and we thank you. We bless you. Just thank you also for these gatherings, Abba. We don't know how much longer we'll be able to do these, but for the time being, it's such a blessing, and we just pray that you watch over all of us, and that all of us be in your will, that we be acting according to your will. And, oh Abba, just continue to open our eyes and ears to your word, that we may be conformed to the image of Messiah Yahusha rather than that of the world. And let us just continue to help us to come out of the world and just remove any evil from our hearts. And just want to pray for those that want to keep the Shabbat but cannot yet. Abba, I pray that you meet all those prayers, that you move around their schedules, that you put it in their boss's mind to say yes, or whatever it may be, or find them a better job, whatever it may be. Abba, I just pray. I know there's many out there that want to do these but can't. Do your Shabbat, that is, but can't. Well, we love you. We bless you, and we're waiting for you, just like your word says, to wait for you. And it says, the one that waits for you shall not be ashamed. We love you, and hallelujah to you. Amen. Hallelujah. Brothers and sisters, thanks for joining. Love you very much. What's going on, Brother Jonathan, the code searcher? Good to see you. Good to see you. Love you all, and I pray that your Shabbat is blessed. Shabbat Shalom.